This presentation is perfect for people who are working in commercial facilities management, for property owners and maintenance managers. It doesn't matter if you're new to the industry or have been working in it for decades. We're sure you will find this information useful and it will bring you up to date with the latest maintenance issues. We hope you will leave with a thorough understanding of the importance of maintenance and be ready to put in place your own actions to continue your maintenance over the service life of your property. The focus of this CPD is the service life of the building and how we can meet the standard ISO 15686. We will start by recapping what cladding we come across on buildings so that we are clear about the various materials used other than glass. We will then look at ISO 15686 and other regulations associated with maintenance. Moving on to the maintenance itself, we will review what kind of things we would look for and understand why this is so important. We will look at the practical solutions and systematic frameworks for good lifetime maintenance and talk about how we can act now if you are not already doing enough. Here is a summary of today's presentation, starting with an overview of our expertise, a look at facades, the standards and legislation, and a look at maintenance in detail, and then the next steps of surveying and planning. Glass Aftercare are leading the way in refurbishment, repair and maintenance of glass facades and windows here in the UK. We work closely with our clients to provide preventative maintenance and repairs when needed. We take away the dangers and uncertainty of managing and maintaining the external building envelope and are specialists in glazing and fenestration. We have a sister company called Open Entrances who specialise in revolving, sliding and swing doors and frameless designs. They work closely with architects and designers to create, engineer and install innovative glass entrances. Combined, we can offer a one-stop shop as we can deliver packages from start to finish entirely in-house. We always put safety first and our exemplary health and safety record speaks volumes. We are willing to take on unique, exciting and often scary jobs that others may avoid. Our teams have a wealth of experience, so you can be assured that we have the knowledge and experience required. Our team is an experienced, ground-up group of installers, technicians and engineers who are time-served and experienced in all disciplines of facade and fenestration, having worked on design, install manufacturing and installation, all the time working with some of the world's best architects, contractors, engineers and facilities managers. Our clients are property owners and building and facilities managers. They usually have an international property portfolio and are very focused on ensuring return on investment and maintaining the inherent value of the asset. We offer a wide range of services as you can see here. We inspect, investigate, refurbish, repair or replace glazed facades, windows and doors. Any aspect of external glazing we can assist you with. We find that the work we carry out is a long-term relationship as we support ongoing maintenance and prevention planning. Pioneering sustainable development through facade-centric energy management. We take a holistic view on energy management in existing buildings through identifying design and implementation, allowing verifiable predictive investment, with the overarching objective of fulfilling sustainable development goals. Let's now look at what is a glass facade and what other materials are used alongside this. A facade is the face of a building, the frontage, or a waterproof external skin. Facades play a really important role as they offer significant protection from the elements and external environment, be that the wind, rain, sun, extreme temperatures or pollution. They often provide good thermal, fire and acoustic properties too, and play an important role in the building movement. Facades can lower energy consumption and reduce maintenance costs, whilst at the same time improving comfort for the inhabitants of the building. Not only do facades offer a practical existence, but they are also designed to look nice. The types of materials, textures and shapes are often specifically chosen to meet a client's or an architect's vision. Facade and fenestration are critical parts of the building. They are responsible for the safety, security, and general well-being and productivity of the inhabitants. The fabric and envelope of the building are subject to extreme weather changes and are usually made up of a variety of parts and materials that all have a key part to play in both keeping the environment internally at an optimum temperature and efficiency, as well as keeping the weather out, as the smallest amount of ingress can be responsible for the largest failures. Considering how expensive repair and maintenance can be, it really pays to inspect rather than expect the products that make up your facade are doing their job, especially as they age towards the life cycle expectancy and end of life. Whatever the facade, they all share the common requirement. They all need maintenance over their lifetime, and the earlier that issues are detected, the more cost-effective the solution. There are many types of windows and doors. You need to understand what type of fenestration is installed into your building and be familiar with the openings and any automation it might have. Here is a selection of windows and doors we often come across. So what is the type of facade you have? A rain screen cladding is designed specifically to provide protection from direct rain. It is often the pretty external face, whilst the practical structural elements are hidden behind. A curtain wall is usually the whole envelope, often non-structural and designed to protect the internal environment. A curtain wall passes continuously around the framework of the structure. Structural systems provide lateral and vertical resistance to wind and other actions, and are made up of elements that provide weather, thermal, acoustic, and fire-resisting properties. Load-bearing facades are often built up using steel reinforcement within, for example, a composite panel with a structural steel frame, designed to take loads that reduce the need for secondary steelwork. Architectural facades are purely designed to look nice, but are limited in performance. They provide character and personality to a building. Facades are also designed to withstand building movement, which is important for long-term safety and structural stability. Lightweight facades adhere to the resistance structure of the building, but do not form part of it. Since it does not contribute to the stability of the building, the lightweight facade needs to be designed to support the loads that place stress on its components. Typically, this would be manufactured from materials such as metal or glass that would be a curtain wall or panel system. It's easy to install, however it does not offer the same fire or thermal performance of a heavier weight system. You'll find this kind of cladding in medium and high-rise buildings. Quite often, heavyweight facades are load-bearing or self-supporting and are made from materials such as steel, wood and concrete. The average weight of a heavyweight facade is above 100 kilograms per cubic meter. The main types are prefabricated, those built traditionally, and those with insulation or rain screen systems. The systems are usually easy to install, and the costs are lower, but there are more limitations, such as design ideas and order quantities. Heavyweight systems tend to be used more on supermarkets and warehouses, where cost and speed of installation is a key priority. The build helps to reduce thermal bridging and risk of condensation, and the air cavity between load-bearing wall and cladding material affords significant insulation benefits from heat. Now let's look at some relevant standards and regulations we need to consider. The British standard ISO 15686 is the one we will focus on. This standard is about identifying and establishing general principles for service life planning and a systematic framework for undertaking service life planning of a building through its life cycle. This development ISO standard addresses service life planning for a building, component, or structure. The objective of service life planning is to help assure that the new building will last at least as long as the design. It's not exact, but is a reliable estimate based on the knowledge relating to the service life of each component, material, assembly and system used. Hence why it is important to be sure of the materials used to make up the facade of your building. If the service life is likely to be less than the design of the building, then decisions can be made about maintenance, repairs or replacements to ensure that essential functions can be maintained. The service life also includes end-of-life considerations, such as embodied energy recovery and recycling. Service life planning is increasingly being linked to sustainability. This diagram shows the simplified life cycle of a building. The service life begins once construction is complete and ends at the end of life stage, when the building is no longer occupied, and it can be dismantled and demolished. We are going to look at the area of the service life of the building in the following slides. There are many regulations relating to new buildings, to the construction and the performance of a building. However, very few relate specifically to the maintenance of facades. In fact, when it comes to the operation and service life of a building, most papers focus on utilities, fire, heating and ventilation, and well-being of the occupants. Here are a few of the most common that are somewhat relevant. The Building Act 1984 is a United Kingdom statute, consolidating previous legislation concerning the construction process and the design and specification for buildings and their component parts and related matters. Building regulations in the United Kingdom are statutory instruments or statutory regulations that seek to ensure that the policies set out in the relevant legislation are carried out. The Building Safety Act outlines what tenants and leaseholders must do around personal building safety responsibilities for the home and communal areas. The fire safety order requires a responsible person, generally the owner, occupier, employer or managing agent, to assess risks of fire to relevant persons and to put in place safety measures to remove or mitigate them and enable the safe occupation and use of their premises. Fire Safety England Regulations 2022 is a new edition that includes a section about external wall systems. They must provide to their local fire and rescue service information about the design and materials of a high-rise building's external wall systems, and to inform the fire and rescue service of any material changes to these walls. Also, they will be required to provide information in relation to the level of risk that the design and materials of the external wall structure gives rise to, and any mitigating steps taken. The 2012 regulations require Energy Performance Certificates, EPCs, to be produced when a domestic or non-domestic building is constructed. BREEAM, the Building Research Establishment Environmental Assessment Method, is a holistic assessment scheme that sets best practice standards for the environmental performance of buildings through the design, specification, construction and operation phases. Although voluntary, several UK government departments and other public bodies either require or encourage the use of BREEAM. Part L is a building regulation that concerns construction projects that are new or result in the change of use of a dwelling or any other buildings in England. It sets the standards for the energy performance and carbon emissions of new and existing buildings. SFG 20 from the Service and Facilities Group sets the standard for planned maintenance. Originally launched in 1990, the standard from the Building Engineering Services Association, known as BESA, is recognized as the industry standard for building maintenance specification. SFG 20 has a growing library of maintenance task schedules, currently covering many equipment types and over 1,000 individual schedule specialist services. The British standard BS 8210 is the guide to building maintenance management. Minimum Energy Efficiency Standards, or MEES, make it unlawful for a landlord to grant a new tenancy or to extend or renew an existing tenancy of certain property having an energy performance certificate, an EPC rating of F or G, unless the relevant energy efficiency improvements for the property have been made or an exemption applies. From the 1st of April 2023, the scope of MEES will extend to existing tenancies of most commercial properties, and will restrict a landlord's ability to continue to let a property with an F or G rating. British Standard EN 16005 is the European Standard Code of Practice for safety in the use of automatic doors for pedestrian use. Whilst there are no laws to say you must carry out maintenance, there are standards and regulations that we have just seen that mean you should. Failure to do so may mean that local authorities have the power to enforce you to do it, and if you continue to ignore issues, that you may be prosecuted. Court orders can be taken out against you if the issue relates to health and safety. Then inspectors can also force you to take action on grounds of safety. Due to lack of maintenance, if you cause personal injury to somebody, you may also be liable from personal legal challenges. Fines can be huge, so it's worth thinking about when looking at your maintenance costings. Having looked at facades and the types that may be installed on your building, what the service life looks like, and what regulations should be considered, let's move on to maintenance and see how important this aspect is within the service life. We need to maintain the facade to keep it looking good, to ensure it remains functional and continues to perform. But aside from the aesthetics, there are other risk factors arising from lack of maintenance. Owners and occupiers have a legal duty to ensure their building is safe. If injury or damage is caused to visitors, occupiers, neighbours, third parties, or property, for example by part of the facade failing, then liability arises. Consequential financial loss, which can be substantial, may not be covered by insurance. To comply with the terms and conditions of the insurance contract, you must be able to show that you understand the relevant maintenance needs of your building, and that you have met these needs. Failure to maintain the building facade properly may result in increased insurance premiums, or a difficulty in insurance renewal. In extreme cases, insurance cover may be terminated, making it impossible to obtain insurance at any price. Risk management involves an understanding of the risks and implementing a practical plan for dealing with them. Proper risk management procedures will help you demonstrate to your insurers and, if necessary, the courts, that you have taken reasonable steps towards discharging your legal responsibilities. Under evolving health and safety legislation, there are increasing personal liabilities for directors and managers of companies whose activities or failures to act cause death or personal injury. Tenants may have obligations under the terms of lease agreement to maintain the facade and may be liable for their repairs. Manufacturers' guarantees may also be affected if correct maintenance isn't carried out. Long term, this may be an issue if cladding fails. With glass facades, inadequate maintenance doesn't just ruin the building's look, it also has significant safety implications. The accumulation of dirt accelerates corrosion, especially in aluminium, gaskets, and silicones, which, with today's modern glazing techniques, are key in structurally holding the glass in and keeping the water out. Poor maintenance will result in some hefty repair bills, and more seriously can present a major safety threat in public areas from the danger of breaking glass. Regulations and standards, such as ISO 15686, ensure you are taking the steps to not only act on current issues, but also to look after your building for its life, extending its life and future-proofing it for years to come. When carrying out a maintenance check on the facade and fenestration, you need to be thorough and look at the full system and all its components. You need to look at the facade itself and ensure its structure is performing as it should. Look at all the components, all the parts that make up the building envelope. All the glass areas should be inspected fully, not missing any windows or doors. The gaskets require checking, as these are another common area for deterioration, and the fixings and fasteners that hold it together. When carrying out maintenance checks, there are several things that you are looking for. Some of them are listed here. Remember that depending on the type of material and construction method used for the facade, this may mean looking for slightly different things. Careful inspection can avoid costly failures or long-term latent defects in building facades. Often the facade is only maintained after a failure, be that broken glass or leaks. This is the most expensive way to deal with problems, when it becomes an urgent reactionary issue needing immediate attention. One of our handouts that accompanies this presentation is a checklist that summarizes all the areas for investigation, which we hope you will find a useful tool. You can use this as a guide when carrying out a check yourself, or to understand what checks should be carried out by others. Look out for nickel sulfide inclusion, as this image shows. This is a naturally occurring phenomenon where impurities are still held in the glass even after manufacture. Nickel sulfide particles are present and cannot be seen and are harmless until aggravated. Glass is extremely strong, however, damage or defects can cause unexpected failure. Reasons for breakages include design problems, glass quality, manufacturing or processing issues, material interaction, mishandling or abuse. Also, extreme temperature variations, impact, and bending causing tension. It's possible to diagnose the cause of the glass failure by investigating the broken pieces. This can eliminate a repeat failure, but also can help with disputes. The mode of failure can be found, such as by bending, thermal, pure tension, torsional, peel, chip, etc. The stress or tension level at which the glass breakage occurred, and the cause of the breakage, for example, impact, crush, or digs caused by glass-to-glass or glass-to-metal contact, chips, edge, surface damage, or scratches. Therefore, if you identify any glass failure, it is crucial to take photos, video, or retain the pieces for investigation if the cause is unknown. By establishing why the failure happened, we can prevent the same issue happening in the future. Good maintenance is planned and preventative. It happens at regular interval by professionals who are experienced and know exactly what they are looking for. They are knowledgeable regarding the type of facade and understand the importance of checking the building thoroughly. Good maintenance is not only carrying out a check, but putting into action as soon as possible the appropriate repairs or refurbishments that may be required. Good maintenance includes regular cleaning with the correct materials. Adherence to health and safety in all cases must be a factor, due to the risks with working on the building. Part of good maintenance is carrying out a condition survey to assess the building. This survey may be carried out at regular intervals as part of a preventative maintenance plan or when acquiring a new property. A condition and acquisition survey is essential when purchasing or leasing a new commercial property. The last thing you want when purchasing a property or signing a 5-year lease is for the weather protection on the 6th floor's windows to fail soon after you exchange contracts. It doesn't matter how new or how old the building you're acquiring is. You need any potential or even existing problems to be highlighted so that you know exactly what you're paying for. By going into any negotiation armed with the facts, you'll avoid unnecessary expense for repairs, refurbishment, or ongoing maintenance. What's more, you'll ensure that any relevant warranties or insurance will remain valid. It's a great way to thoroughly check all the components of the facade and ensure the building is safe, that you comply with regulations and obligations, and that anything identified can be dealt with as necessary. The degree of inspection and maintenance required will depend on the facade type and its intended design life. The joints between panels require particular attention, as a failure of sealants or gaskets will lead to water penetration, which may cause the corrosion of fixings and damage to the building fabric. The survey should look at where the building is sited, what level of environmental pollutants it is regularly subjected to, what materials it is constructed from, and its design relative to the O&Ms. With a glass facade, the surveyor would look for evidence of chips, cracks, delamination, and discoloration of glass coatings, or moisture in the glass cavity. You should pay close attention to silicon joints, gaskets and membranes, internal actuated blinds, and ironmongery. It's recommended to look beneath the skin and properly maintain the internal cladding too, which is a vital factor often overlooked. We have developed a diagnostic tool that, even without a survey, can factor in key known criteria and apply and weight them across your building, and it will determine as a first step how much longer you can expect your facade and fenestration to last. This can then inform decisions about what type of condition survey is needed and what proactive maintenance regime needs to be put in place now. The durability of facade components can be divided into 4 categories. Short, components where maintenance is acceptable at short intervals, typically 2 to 5 years, for either protective or decorative purposes. Medium, components where the first maintenance is envisaged to be about 5 to 10 years. Long, components where the first maintenance is envisaged to be about 10 to 20 years. Very long, components that will not be maintained during the design life of the building. Inspection frequency can be divided into 3 categories: routine, continuous regular observations that should be undertaken by the user as part of the occupancy of the building. Feedback resulting from this type of observation should be encouraged. General, visual inspections of main elements made under the supervision of a suitably qualified person at times specified in the maintenance manual. Detailed, a full inspection of the facade by a suitably qualified person at times specified in the maintenance manual, but probably not exceeding a 5-year period. Anyone can carry out a maintenance survey. However, the more experience and expertise a person has will produce a better and more detailed report that can be trusted. Therefore, it is recommended that a specialist contractor, like ourselves, be appointed to carry out this work. With a specialist maintenance contractor, you can rest assured that the survey is done accurately and in detail. It removes the risk from you and highlights unforeseen issues that others would miss due to the experience specialists have. It is also evidence to show insurers that you have taken the necessary steps. It can also be carried out on-site by your own maintenance engineers, but you should ensure that they have completed the relevant training. To keep the facade in optimal shape during its lifetime, cleaning must take place on a regular basis. If cleaning is not carried out regularly, the surfaces of the facade, the glass, anodized aluminium, powder-coated aluminium and stainless steel, etc., will soon show signs of dirt and grime. It will concentrate on corners, louvres, and on protruding parts that are not naturally washed by rainwater. This process is caused mainly by dirt from the atmosphere. The intensity depends on the environmental conditions, such as pollution and city area, and on the orientation of the facade with respect to the sun, dominant wind direction, and surrounding buildings. Cleaning on a regular basis is essential, and not only for aesthetic reasons, but also due to the fact that the presence of dirt might facilitate the corrosion process of certain metals, including coated aluminium and stainless steel. The combination of moisture and dirt may lead to a decrease of the environmental pH value to a factor of 2, meaning the acidity could increase 100 times. Additionally, the presence of small metal particles on aluminium or stainless steel surfaces may cause local contact corrosion, known as galvanic corrosion of the surface. All parts of the facade, and not only the glass, should be cleaned on a regular basis to keep the facade in optimal condition. A routine cleaning and maintenance schedule must be implemented and executed for the guarantee to be valid. Maintenance of the facade needs to be integral to the service life plan. Carrying out maintenance is the right thing to do. It's also the legal and moral way to look after your building and its occupants. Carrying out regular checks will spot issues that need attention, making it more cost-effective to fix early than to leave and face larger bills later. Our system and process is unique, as it takes data that is available now and overlays this to create live O&Ms that are credible and accountable, giving the certainty of compliance and confidence that your building is a viable asset today and for the future, all the time arming you with the tools to manage predictive investment so that budgeting can be controlled. Surveys are normally carried out by experienced professionals, as not only do they have the right training and equipment, but they are trained to know, from the type of facade and building structure you have, which is the best survey method. There are many ways the survey can be carried out, such as a drone survey, using cradle access, trained abseilers and other high-level access platforms and equipment. There are also new technologies, such as mixed reality, that are changing the way surveys are done. It is possible to arrange training specifically for the purpose of carrying out maintenance checks. We have touched on this in earlier slides, but health and safety is a big part of maintenance, and here's why. Working at height comes with risk, therefore any inspection or repair work comes with this risk. A risk assessment must be carried out prior to commencing any work. Control measures dictated by that assessment must be taken. Due regard must also be given to the residual hazards detailed in the appropriate section of the health and safety file. Before commencing cleaning and maintenance work on any items of the building, ensure that the associated power supplies have been isolated and locked off, and that all control and ancillary circuits have been made dead. Cleaning and maintenance activities must only be performed by qualified service personnel, with a demonstrable training record in the servicing of this type of equipment, and who are equipped with proper clothing, tools, etc. All work must be carried out in accordance with the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, Health and Safety Electricity at Work Regulations 1989, encompassing BS 7671, the 16th edition IEE Wiring Regulations and associated guiding notes, and associated legislation and HSE guidance publications. Another important aspect of maintenance, through the service life of a building, is the environment and the sustainability factor. Maintaining and prolonging the life of materials on the building reduces the need for production from new materials and components. Minimizing waste, reusing materials, and managing materials at the end of life cycle improves the sustainability of that building. Maintaining the building performance makes the building more energy efficient, hence better for the environment. During maintenance, there are opportunities to add new energy-efficient measures, for example solar film, shading or heated glass. Due to government targets, such as the new EPC certificate, this has never been so important. Not only will this save money long term, but for landlords this will also increase the value and rentability factor. Looking long term over the life of the property and being aware of its life cycle, planning ahead and taking preventative measures not only meets your obligations, but saves costs and contributes to sustainability. We have looked at maintenance in detail. We know what it is, why we do it, and how it meets our obligations. But how often should we do it, and how do we plan it? For a coastal atmosphere, external parts of facade elements that are regularly washed by rainwater and that are located in a coastal atmosphere shall be cleaned at least twice a year. With the absence of natural cleaning, external parts of facade elements that are not regularly washed by rainwater, irrespective of the prevailing environments, shall be cleaned at least 3 times a year. The absence of natural cleaning occurs underneath balconies, soffits, roof overhangs, and link bridges, etc. The facade elements for the internal cladding and internal parts of the external cladding, not polluted by external conditions, but also not cleaned by natural cleaning, shall be cleaned at least once a year. Anodized surfaces of the external facade need to be cleaned at least 4 times a year. And for glass and other parts of the external facade, at least twice a year. After heavy rain, regular inspections to window and door seals shall be carried out. After a second round of overall facade cleaning has been carried out, the cleaning regime should be judged and determined by the client and a specialist cleaning and maintenance company. Establish a routine fit for purpose and a maintenance schedule that is specific to the needs of your building. Look at where it is sited, what level of environmental pollutants it is regularly subjected to, what materials it is constructed from, and its design relative to the O&Ms. A condition survey will identify existing and potential defects and inform your planned inspection and maintenance program. Best practice suggests that all buildings should have a maintenance manual. since 1994, all new and refurbished buildings are required to have such a manual. This should be kept up to date and any necessary maintenance work carried out. If there is no maintenance manual, have one written, based on the findings of the condition survey. This is the only way of ensuring that an appropriate maintenance schedule is put in place. A carefully tailored schedule will dramatically reduce the incidence of unplanned repair and minimise disruption. The adoption of a preventative maintenance strategy will optimise whole life performance. Safe access to the facade and possible disruption to occupiers must be considered when devising the schedule. Maintenance of facades often involves scaffolding. This can be disruptive to occupiers and costly to their businesses. It is a good idea to share the cost and frequency of access between maintenance activities. The benefits to regular maintenance, condition surveys, and prevention planning is that it meets your obligations and conforms to standards and regulations. It saves money by avoiding large surprise repair costs and overall is much better for the environment. It's safer for everyone around the building, inside, outside, and employees. It's much better for the occupants of the building and improves their well-being and, in turn, their productivity. Let's have a look at some of the projects we have been involved with that required our support. This is an iconic London property for NatWest Bank, the building having become their new headquarters. Glass Aftercare had been performing periodic visual inspections and minor maintenance and repairs for the facilities management company for over 4 years. The last visual inspection identified that the facade had developed numerous leaks, resulting in water ingress, causing damp and mildew to penetrate inside the building. It was evident that an extensive glass refurbishment was required. Last year, the property owners undertook a major consolidation of the buildings within their portfolio and as a result decided to undertake an internal and external refurbishment programme to make 250 Bishopsgate fit for purpose for the next 25 years. Following a rigorous tendering process, Glass Aftercare was awarded the contract to undertake a comprehensive audit of the building and repair whatever the audit uncovered. The client understood that the audit needed to encompass the fabric of the building and the environmental implications of having a facade that keeps moisture out and heat in, whilst focusing on the long-term health and safety of the people who work there. The in-depth survey of the main curtain wall, a separate hanging wall, the main reception roof, and the 9th floor atrium roof identified the following main areas of concern. Before any structural repairs could take place, it was imperative that the operations and maintenance manual was completed and brought up to date, as it lacked critical information for the correct maintenance and repair of the glazing. Glass Aftercare liaised with Rayco, the original glazing supplier, to gather the missing information such as the glass and facade specifications, suppliers, etc., and a new OMM was created. Due to the damage caused by the poor installation of the original components and the use of non-compliant sealing materials, it became evident that the curtain wall system needed to be replaced in some sections, rather than repaired. Although all the original suppliers and specifications had been identified whilst completing the OMM, unfortunately both the glass and facade systems had been discontinued. Using Glass Aftercare's extensive experience in the field, a solar control film was sourced that not only matched the original glass colour, but also improved the UV protection and thermal efficiency. With the location of the building being on a busy road and heavily pedestrianised area of the city, strict health and safety procedures had to be followed, and most of the work was done outside of office hours to minimise disruption. Glass Aftercare took care of all the logistics with regards to road closures and craning in the new glass panels. As most of the installation work was being carried out at a high level, our team not only had to be skilled installers, but also trained abseilers. We had to decap the entire existing framing system, remove the glazing assemblies, clean off the seals and tapes, install new assemblies where required, and then recap the framing system with new seals and tapes. In total, more than 20 glass roof panels in the atrium and the main reception were replaced. In addition, widespread leak repairs were performed throughout. All the drainage gullies were refurbished along with new smoke vents and new perimeter flashings to prevent future moisture ingress. we commissioned a comprehensive independent testing procedure in accordance with the strictest professional standards to make certain the repairs would be able to stand up to the most rigorous conditions. Finally, the operations and maintenance manual was updated to include specifications, supplier details, and maintenance guidelines for all the new materials that were installed. We arranged an energy survey on the building and found that by installing solar film to the glazing, the payback time was only 7.5 years, with cost savings coming in at over £1 million. Not only did the film show cost savings, but it also reduced fading to internal fixtures, furniture, and even plants. It made a more comfortable internal environment and reduced computer glare and eye strain. The benefits it provided internally improved the well-being for its occupants so much that it would see productivity increase too. So we're near the end of the presentation now. Let's summarise some of the things we've covered and reinforce the understanding. We know that the facade can be made up of different materials and construction methods, and it's important to understand what those materials are in order to carry out the most appropriate maintenance. We understand standards and regulations so that we know how to comply with them. We need to ensure our buildings meet these standards throughout their lifetime, not just at the build stage. We are clear about why we need to maintain the building and what our obligations are. We know what a condition survey would be looking for and what makes a good survey and who would carry it out. We understand the need for a condition survey and maintenance and what their benefits are. We appreciate the impact on the environment and sustainability factors and on health and safety matters. We know how to create a practical framework for the whole service life of the building that will meet all the factors above. We can now think more consciously about our own involvement in maintenance and can put into action our plans, surveys, and frameworks to establish them where they don't exist and to improve them where they are out of date. Glass Aftercare takes a facade-centric energy management approach, FCEM, which aligns with Sustainable Development Goals to deliver an end-to-end process. The model uses a 4-step approach by, firstly, developing an action plan that identifies key opportunities in order to reduce building asset operational cost, improve carbon performance, smarter maintenance, and feasibility studies for investment-grade proposals, for example, low-carbon technologies. The other 3 steps involve concept design, implementation and verification, and monitoring. With the addition of DDM, this adds value to the client through building optimization and providing the necessary insight and capabilities required to quickly and easily identify these instances of inefficiency. Significant advancement has been made in building energy management systems and Internet of Things technology with the introduction of data-driven maintenance. While these advancements have been great, support services have not evolved at the same pace. As such, service offerings have remained largely isolated. Our focus is on interoperability, with the focus on O&Ms combining energy, life cycle awareness and comfort management through the use of better glazing-related products enhancing performance. Together with data maintenance, building optimization and a smarter, more effective and efficient approach to building management can be achieved. You can find further information from our website or from the brochure that comes with this presentation. We're also happy to discuss any specific site and the queries surrounding it with you. Along with this presentation, we've also provided a basic checklist of the things you can look out for in our maintenance survey handout, as mentioned earlier in the presentation. You can also watch some of our videos on our YouTube channel. Thank you for your time, and we hope that you now have a better understanding about the maintenance and service life of your glass facade.